The ghost tour of Little Tokyo wishes to apologize. Dear gentlemen of the General Surety Insurance Corporation, our legal counsel has advised us to provide the following account. We wish to stress our appreciation for your 10-year underwriting of the ghost tour of Little Tokyo's liability, workers' compensation, and bodily injury/property damage insurance. It is because of this deep and abiding partnership that we feel it necessary to explain the circumstances behind that ill-fated tour, in the hope that you may reverse your decision to cancel our policy. Mistakes were made. Up front, it is worth admitting mistakes were made. However, it is our counsel's opinion that, given a more complete understanding of what transpired that night, General Surety may yet reconsider its position. Our tour began, as it always did, at Nishihonganji Buddhist Temple. Did we know that day was the Obon Festival? Yes, of course we did. The temple had just hosted Bonodori dancing. These dances, as you may recall, honor ancestral spirits, inspired by Maudgaliana rescuing his mother from the realm of hungry ghosts. Perhaps it was the weather, sunny, mild, just enough clouds for shade that kept the festival unexpectedly full of revelers. Our tours proceed at dusk. The public won't go for daylight ghost excursions. We have market-tested this approach. And again, this tour was no exception. We had 7 guests, slightly less than usual, but sufficient for an outing. These were all paying customers. They had signed waivers, copies of which can be found in Exhibit A. Which raises the question, what was so unusual that day? The scheduled tour guide called out sick. Being a small local business and it being a Sunday and a holiday at that, we overlook that fact. Had this ever happened in the prior 14 years of operations? It had not. Proudly, you may verify this claim against our TripAdvisor reviews, 4.8 stars. What we do know is that a rogue guide took over. How she gained the trust of this tour group, how she divined their names, or how she could see deep into their hearts, we will leave that for you to conclude. What we can say is this. Her presence was unauthorized. She was neither a full-time employee nor a 1099 contractor and thus did not represent a covered entity under our policy. We use the temple as our starting point for the guide to greet the guests. It's a useful visual reference point. As General Surety's headquarters are in Sausalito, it may be helpful to orient you. The temple sits on First Street, a 2-story Mission Revival structure with clean lines. The building has survived immigration raids, exclusion orders, and gentrification. It stretches down the block like a pleasant yawn. We mean by that it appears relaxed, hardly a haunted house. As we have said, this was not the normal guide. She was not dressed in our signature haunted bellhop outfit. Email confirmations include a photo for reference. No, according to eyewitnesses, she was clothed in a white, full-length evening gown with kimono sleeves and a sash belt sewn across the waist. She even carried a period-appropriate parasol. So we understand our customer's misunderstanding. Her appearance felt thematically appropriate. The temple had left its gates open to accommodate lingering dancers adorned in anything from traditional yukata to shorts and t-shirts. The atmosphere was convivial. Everyone was welcome. No one was out of place. In other words, she did not stand out. She provided the tour group with a second waiver. This new paperwork created some confusion, since ours is already quite thorough. Someone joked, "Is this where I sign my life away?" Unfortunately for them, but obviously not for us, each attendee executed the document. An example is included as Exhibit B. You may need it translated, but we direct your attention to a specific phrase in the last paragraph. The undersigned consents to atone in perpetual remembrance. Moreover, and this is a point in our favor, this guy did not execute the documents as our company's representative. No, her mark was simply the Japanese character Oni. Bilingual, okay. Good gentlemen of General Surety Insurance Corporation, the closest English translation of Oni is demon. From the timeline we have reconstructed, the tour began with a lesson. After she had collected the documents, she asserted, "Little Tokyo is a neighborhood built on agreements." She explained the history of picture brides who sent photographs to be circulated in America. She produced what appeared to be a genuine Koseki family registry. She noted that these were contractual migrations. Entire households materialized in Little Tokyo because packages sailed across the Pacific. I want to assure you that our standard text contains none of this. Our guides are supposed to say, if you look at the second floor windows, you might notice some unusual reflections. Of course, it could be the setting sun. Or it could be someone who never left. And that's it. The streetlights typically flicker on at dusk, a little spookiness, a little pondering, then on to the next stop. But not that night. This guide went completely off script. She led the tour down First Street to the Far East building. She had them each place a finger in the air to trace the central arched parapet, to admire the smooth facade, to note the symmetrical composition. She informed them it was built in 1917. Boarding rooms above, storefronts below. She described how men crowded the floor in sleep, how exhausted they were as laborers, newly arrived Issei who put on a brave face on letters home. She explained that many tried to shield their families from the alien land law's impact. They didn't mention a prohibition on citizenship, on owning property. These men were still proud and hopeful. They wrote optimistic letters to forthcoming brides. "We didn't lack money," she said. "We lacked paperwork." Few noticed the shift to we, and those who did ascribed it to like a method acting thing. This, of course, is Los Angeles, after all. The guide explained that if you could not own land, you leased it. If you couldn't lease it, you had a child. At least then, they were American by birth. At least you could try to deed land in their name. If you had no child, and here several interviewees noted, a quaver arose in her voice, you asked a friend. But if you trusted the wrong person, you might lose everything. You might disappear entirely. A cold wind began to blow. Several people reported feeling unseasonal chills in the air. Meteorological support, Exhibit B, see. When they approached Daikokuya Ramen, she paused. The restaurant is so popular in the summer that it spills into an outdoor tent across the sidewalk. Watching diners enjoy their meals seemed to vex her. She demanded that each person on the tour purchase a bowl of ramen. It was a surprising request, but dusk had settled. The lights of buildings shimmered, and paper lanterns fluttered in the breeze. So the tour obliged and dutifully filed inside, but she refused to enter, blocking the doorway, one hand on the window, awaiting 7 bowls of ramen. When the group returned, she snatched the first bowl and ate it on the sidewalk. She snapped up the noodles in 5 quick clicks of her chopsticks, then drained the broth in frustrated gulps. Cold. She insisted on a second bowl, which was steaming as she removed its lids. She made the quick work of that as well. Bland. A spicy miso was offered next. We have refunded parties with a receipt, Exhibit D. The guide slathered it in an entire jar of chili oil and gobbled it up just as quickly, still unsatisfied. She grabbed a seat patron by the shirt. What does it taste of? He sputtered, pork belly chashu, bean sprouts, green onions, savory broth. This thought incensed her, that he could taste it while she could not. She seized a bottle of soy sauce from his table and hurled it at the restaurant front. splintering glass. We are aware of the claim for the window, but as we said, this was not one of our employees. The guide's mood infected the tour. People were on edge. She steered the group beyond Little Tokyo towards City Hall. As they approached, she knocked aside an orange men at work signs in the park. The group was uncertain. Was this bizarre behavior all part of the act? Several reported considering leaving right there and then, but she bade them to stay for one final stop. City Hall was lit up, white, tall, and clear in the night. She commenced. In this part, we have verbatim, confirmed through several interviews, to explain the civilian exclusion orders. In 1942, notices were posted. Days to close up shop, days to store a life's worth of belongings, days to decide who we could trust. Some of us signed leases, some signed letters, some letters to attorney, while others of us signed nothing. At this, tears began to roll down her face, but she maintained her composure. When we were finally released, we were given train tickets, $25, any paper we had safeguarded. But coming home, Little Tokyo had changed. Properties seized, houses emptied. We returned after years to find even the sturdiest agreements had been broken. She looked around carefully at the tour group, at each person, one by one. City offices reviewed claims. Courts settled disputes. Too slowly. We needed housing, jobs. Banks required proof of deeds. Landlords required proof of tenancy. Insurance companies required proof of loss. But what happens if you trusted one person with your life and that person erases you from record? What justice can you find? And she said this, as she said this, she retrieved that second set of waivers. Your grandmother should have taught you to read everything, to only put your name on what you can understand. You see, good sirs, no one on the tour was fluent in Japanese. They were utterly clueless about what they'd signed. There was no delicate way to state this. Those waivers gave this guide rights to their very own souls. They had signed away their existence in this life and in any life to come. We are unsure of the legal standing here. Acknowledging the novelty of the situation, one we hope the likes of which you haven't seen before, we note two important matters. First, they signed willingly, even though our counsel remains unclear about the jurisprudence of such a document. Second, something gave the tour guide pause. Perhaps it was the location. Standing in the shadow of City Hall, she began to speak of bureaucracy. She recounted the energetic efficiency of the relocation and the quiet chaos of return. Many tore us down. Few wanted to help rebuild. She relayed this not with rancor, but with a sad resignation. Then she studied the group one last time. Each of them, every single person saw this woman's life unspool before them as a movie, and each understood she had been a picture bride. She had traveled an ocean to marry a stranger. They'd labored together as husband and wife, unable to purchase a home, unable to have children. They were removed. They were interned. They returned to betrayal. She had been forgotten, or so she thought. While she was seeking someone to bind, to exact revenge, to soothe her wretched existence, she found instead in each person on that night's tour an unexpected compassion. Her story filled their hearts with empathy, and in seeing her own life reflected back, she appeared to feel it too. She gasped, suddenly contrite, I attempted to deceive you as I was deceived. No more. She flung the waivers at their feet. Hungry ghosts only take what has been willingly given. I release my claims on you. Go, restore, rebuild. Then she vanished. Gentlemen, we must focus on the big picture here. Was anyone's soul technically lost? Hardly. Ask any member of that group and they will say it changed them for the better. They convene on Zoom every Sunday night. They've started a resettlement advocacy group for people in Little Tokyo and beyond. In her honor, they adopted her parasol as their logo, a symbolic protection. Finally, to the matter at hand, we deeply regret all that transpired. Sincerely, we do. But we threaten to cancel our coverage pending current or future claims. Begs a simple question. Are we liable? We do not believe so. We assert that an unlikely series of events conspired here, perhaps even an act of God. We cannot be held accountable for an otherworldly spirit summoned during a festival when the veil between worlds is already thin. We cannot be held accountable for documents executed by consenting adults in the presence of an unaffiliated entity. And we cannot be held accountable for a ghost tour operated by a literal ghost. But please, note that in response to your previous correspondence, we plead with you, let us continue working together. You see, word is circulated that our tour offers an unusually authentic experience. Our socials are mobbed, our waiting list stretches 4 months, bookings are up by 350%. We are writing to request an expansion of our existing policy. Dear sirs, we wish nothing more than our continued mutual success and look forward to a most favorable reply. Sincerely, owners, the Ghost Tour of Little Tokyo. P.S. All 7 participants left us 5-star reviews. We have conveyed to certain celestial powers that this particular guide would be most welcome to return. Accordingly, our waiver has been amended to void any possible soul-related transfers in the future.